I've mentioned this in a couple of my videos through the years, but I started watching Drag Race during season 7. A friend of mine back then posted a clip of Miss Fame and Katya talking about their problems with addiction, and I was amazed at how real and raw that moment was. I also remember seeing the video of the Despy Awards challenge on YouTube and kind of finding it funny, but still not really getting it. Seeing that clip of Katya and Miss Fame made me interested in two of them, so I started watching the show mid-season 7. After that season finished, there were a lot of people saying that Katya should have won the season, simply because she was the most likable queen on that cast. She was different, had a unique perspective on drag and life, and she was endearing, flaws and all. So it's no shock that she ended up being the miscongeniality of the season. Back then, I did not agree with people who thought Katya should have won the season, in big part because it was coming from a place of hurt. People did not want to see her get eliminated. 10 years later, and after reanalyzing the season and its main idea, I must say, Katya should have won season 7. If you would like to help the channel, since YouTube hates its creators, you can like this video or dislike it for all I care. Leave a comment and, of course, make sure you're subscribed. You can also become a member of the channel, and I want to thank everyone who has become a member so far. All these lovely people here have seen this video before the rest of you, and they already have other videos to watch. Some of them being channel exclusive content. Now, let's get back to the video. Season 7 is widely regarded as one of the show's worst seasons. I do not agree with this, but I can understand where people are coming from. After the wild success of season 6, and especially with the success of Adore Delano, the show wanted to try to relate to the younger audience. Given that the Drag Race, as many other shows, is run by people who nowadays would fall for AI slop, instead of casting more queens like Adore and surrounding them with lovable veterans that enhance their talents, they went with casting queens that do well on social media. The cast was more or less evenly divided into old school drag queens and new school drag queens. The old school queens focused more on comedy and performance, while the new school queens focused on the visuals and the overall concept of their drag characters. This division does not mandatorily correlate with age, as you're about to see, but in general, queens around or above the age of 30 we could consider old school. These queens were Ginger Minj, Jaden Dior Fierce, Jasmine Masters, Candy Ho, Kennedy Davenport, Mrs. Kasha Davis, Sasha Bell, and Tempest du Jour. On the other hand, the new school queens were Max, Miss Fame, Pearl, Trixie Mattel, and Violet Chachki. The division is very similar to the division in the Glamazonian Airways Challenge, almost to a T. We gotta give the casting directors props for this one. Katya remains in the middle. The character of Katya is the most different from the person behind the character, as it came from the artist's love of Russian culture, whereas he is not Russian. And I'm saying it like this because I feel weird using drag queens' government names, like, I don't know, Brian, even though it would be easier here. The aesthetic is very unique. It's very Slavic doll, at times bizarre, very referential, but also transformative. And from time to time, Katya also speaks with a Russian accent. Well, what people in the US think Russian accent sounds like. So she has the concept and the visual down. But Katya is also a very good performer in the traditional sense, but she's also a very funny queen. This isn't to say that the old school queens don't pay attention to their visuals or that they're not interesting conceptually. They certainly don't focus on that. And the same goes for the new school queens, who don't really focus on being good performers. This is also reflected in the challenges. The season is filled with group acting and comedy challenges, starting and ending with a ball, kind of, and a performing challenge, and in the middle of the season there was the makeover challenge. There were very few surprises in who wins these challenges, but I think the point from the producers was to try to show the new school queens being able to hang with the old school queens. But that's not what really happened. The only surprises really were Pearl and Max winning the Despy Awards challenge and Violet winning the dancing challenge with Katya. Katya in this season wins an acting challenge and a dancing, so performing challenge, while she is high for the music video spoof, Snatch Game, and the John Waters challenge. So acting, improv, comedy challenges. And then also the makeover challenge, which, by the way, she 100% should have won. We all know Pearl only won that for storyline reasons. Katya places below the safe placement twice in the season. First in the performing challenge in episode 2, but then she demolishes Sasha in the lip sync. And then in her elimination episode in episode 11 for the Hello Kitty design challenge. And here's my biggest point of contention with this season. Katya should not have been in the bottom 2 there. Katya had the best Hello Kitty character and the third worst look on the runway. Or, the third best, because there were only 5 of them. She was in the middle. Pearl was literally just Madonna in the 80s for her Hello Kitty character, and then for her actual runway look, she literally just wrapped a blanket around herself and called it a look.
Oh, but it looks like something that's on the runway.
Okay. And it's still not impressive. Literally anyone could have wrapped themselves in a blanket and called it a day. Pearl was the main character of the season, and the show needed to have her in the finale. So for the top 4 episode, they already have the spot for the new school queen filled there. Violet won this episode, deservingly so, of course, so she was the other new school girlie. There was no place for Katya in the top 4, because in order to keep the conflict going, they needed to have 2 antagonists in the top 4, so they chose Kennedy and Ginger, of course, to advance. Luckily for them, Kennedy was the only person in this top 5 who could beat Katya in a lip sync, and Katya herself did say that she pretty much gave up this episode, so we have all kind of accepted this idea that she was the worst this episode. She wasn't! It was Pearl! Pearl was pushed to the finale so hard that they had to sacrifice Kennedy in the top 4 episode, even though she was the second best competitor in the season. And Pearl has one of the worst track records of any finalist on the show. Therefore, episode 11 should have ended with a Kennedy and Pearl lip sync, where Pearl is taken out of the competition. I'm marking Katya as safe in this episode because if Pearl could get a safe edit for this nonsense, so can Katya. I'm building here towards a more interesting finale. Originally, we had Violet, the anti-hero, Pearl, the hero but production favorite, and Ginger, the villain. It wouldn't make sense for Pearl to win, and between Violet and Ginger, the show will always go for the more heroic person to win it, because they want to send the regular viewers home happy. So, of course, they're going to go for Violet. They even fulfill their mission of crowning a younger queen that's going to be popular on social media. But why not have an actual hero in the finale, one that got there without the help of the production? So in episode 12, we have that filler episode where the top 3 is chosen. The top 3 of Ginger, Kennedy, and Violet does not make sense from the storytelling standpoint, and we would get a mandatorily negative ending to the season. So we're left with 2 options. One option is to go into the finale with Katya, Ginger, and Kennedy, but since Katya was close to them, there isn't that conflict that would make the finale more interesting. And the other option, the more preferable option, is to go for a finale of Katya, Violet, and either one of Ginger and Kennedy. That way, we would have one hero, one anti-hero, and one villain. Also, one representative of the old school queens, one representative of new school queens, and Katya in the middle. Like I said, this second option is the best option for the story, the production, the viewers, and the cast itself. Katya is very much so beloved by her castmates. She's also one of the most popular queens on social media. Well, she has been one of the most popular queens on social media for a decade now. The story of her starting off weak in the season, but ending with a pretty solid track record of 3.63 recurring, or 3.54 recurring if you want to count her as low in episode 11, would be very interesting and different for a winner. Would she be the strongest winner statistically? No. She would be right below Sharon, but above Nymphia, Evie, Aquaria, Simone, Bob, Willow, and BB, as opposed to Violet, who only did better than BB. Actually, in reality, as the season is, Katya and Violet ended the season with the same track record. Had Katya placed anywhere but in the bottom 2 in the last episode, she would have been yet another queen of this season with a better track record than Violet. Katya would also tick the box of not being up for elimination more than once in this scenario, but she would be the only winner with a bottom 2 placement in the first 4 episodes and without a win in the first 5 episodes, which is the biggest flaw in this story. But still, I showed you that with only 2 queens changing their placements in 1 episode, we could have got a better ending to season 7. And that's it. That's the video. Are you drinking the Delulu juice for sluts like me? Do you agree with the case that I have presented? I get it if you don't. I understand why each queen won their season, but I do think that with Katya winning season 7, it would have had a more satisfying and conclusive ending to the idea that the production had for this season. Thank you for watching.